Okay, good afternoon, and thank you again for attending this Air Quality Awareness Week series. Today's session, we will be covering the effects of climate change on air quality. Changes in climate can result in impacts to both local and regional air quality. Clean air is critical to human health and is also important for the health and vegetation of crops. It contributes to people's enjoyment of scenic areas like national parks and wilderness areas. In many areas of the United States, climate change is expected to worsen harmful ground level ozone, increase people's exposure to allergens like pollen, and contribute to worsening air quality. It can also decrease visibility so that it is harder to see into the distance. Changes in the amount of outdoor air pollutants can also affect indoor air quality. Today, you will hear more about the impacts on both indoor and outdoor air quality. You will also hear about EPA programs, tools, and ways we can reduce climate and air quality impacts. Without further ado, let's dive into and learn more about climate and air quality. At this time, I will turn it over to Kayla Kern and Ms. Kelly Sheckler. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks, Caroline, and good morning or afternoon to everyone calling in, depending on where you're calling in from. My name is Kayla Kern. I am our Energy Store Coordinator for EPA Region 4, joined with my coworker, Kelly Sheckler, and today we're going to be talking a little bit about climate change and air quality. It is May 4th, so we only felt it appropriate to title our presentation Climate and Air Quality, A New Hope. So may the 4th be with you, and I'll go ahead and get started. All right, so starting out with what is climate change? The Earth's climate is changing. There's multiple lines of evidence that show changes in our weather, oceans, and ecosystems, such as changing temperature and precipitation patterns, increases in ocean temperatures, sea level and acidity, melting of glaciers and sea ice, changes in frequency, intensity, and duration of extreme weather events, shifts in eco-characteristics like the length of the growing season, timing of flower blooms, and the migration of birds. These changes are due to a buildup of greenhouse gases in our atmosphere and the warming of the planet due to the greenhouse gas effect. So what is the greenhouse gas effect? I'm going to go ahead and show this video, and it does a really great job of giving an overview of what the greenhouse gas effect is. So to summarize that video, the greenhouse gas effect helps trap heat from the sun, which keeps the temperature on Earth comfortable. But most people's activities are increasing the amount of heat-trapping greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, causing the Earth to warm up. So we're going to share these slides at the end, but this diagram does a really great job explaining the greenhouse gas effect. So this would be a great slide to go back to if you need to go back to it. All right, so moving into how climate change is impacting our air quality. Climate change may affect air quality at both a local and regional level. In many regions of the US, climate-driven changes in weather conditions, including temperature and precipitation, are expected to increase ground level ozone and particulate matter. Exposure to these pollutants can lead to or worsen health problems such as respiratory and heart diseases. Air pollution may also damage crops, plants, and forests. Climate change has already led to more frequent wildfires and a longer wildfire season. Wildfire smoke pollutants in the air impair the visibility and also disrupt outdoor activities. If you were with us earlier this week, Rick did a great presentation about wildfire smoke and impacts of air quality. A changing climate is also expected to cause earlier and longer springs and summers, warming temperatures, precipitation changes, and higher carbon dioxide concentrations. All these changes can increase people's exposure to pollen and other airborne allergens, which in turn can lead to more allergy-related illnesses such as asthma and hay fever. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Kelly, and she's going to dive a little bit deeper into outdoor air quality and climate.
Hey, thank you, Kayla. Before I get started, I have to throw a joke out because it is May the 4th, but why does the Millennial Falcon find it easier to fly after The Force Awakens? It's now hands-free. Okay. I'm not a real good joke teller, but folks, I think it's important when we're talking about climate change to and the interconnection with air quality is to go back and do some basics. There are four criteria. Well, I'm going to talk about four criteria pollutants that EPA has NACs for, and one of them is ozone. And on this slide, you can see how ozone is formed. Ozone is a very highly reactive gas that is composed of oxygen atoms, and there's both natural and man-made ozone occurrences in the Earth's atmosphere, both in the stratosphere as well as the troposphere. And I don't know if the next slide, Kayla, okay, no, go back. Yeah, we took out some slides. Depending on where you're at in the atmosphere, whether you're up high or down low, ozone affects the Earth in different ways, and some of that's good and some of that's bad. Stratospheric ozone is formed naturally through the interaction of solar ultraviolet radiation and molecular oxygen. It's what we typically refer to as the ozone layer, and that's about 6 to 30 miles above the Earth's surface. And it reduces the amount of UV radiation that actually reaches the Earth. On the other hand, tropospheric or ground level ozone that we breathe is formed primarily through a photochemical reaction, and that's what this picture is showing, where you have volatile organic compounds and nitrogen oxides, and these react in the presence of heat and sunlight, and resulting in higher ambient concentrations when we have heat that's created by the greenhouse gas effects. Now, ozone contributes to what we typically experience as smog or haze, and it occurs most frequently in the summertime, obviously, when we have the warmer temperatures. Although some stratospheric ozone is transported into the troposphere, and some of the VOCs and NOx occur naturally, the majority of ground level ozone is the result of reactions of man-made VOC and NOx. And some of the significant sources are chemical plants, gasoline pumps, oil-based plants, auto body shops, and nitrogen oxides, resulting from high temperature combustion, such as power plants, furnaces, boilers, and motor vehicles. Now, I think it's important to understand the increase in greenhouse effects and how it affects the troposphere, or the ground level ozone. We have increased carbon dioxide, which leads to that heating effect. And on the other hand, in the stratosphere, it causes a cooling effect. Excuse me, sorry. So you can see the temperature definitely has an impact on the formation of smog at the ground level, creating more of it, and they're interrelated. So All right, next slide. Okay, the next pollutants I'm going to talk to you about are PMCO and CO2. And I think the first question you have to ask is, do particular particulates cause global warming? Well, ozone in the atmosphere warms the climate. Well, different components of particulate matter can have either a warming or a cooling effect on the climate. For example, particulate contains, or one of the particulates is black carbon, and that comes from combustion, and it contributes to the warming of the earth. While particulate sulfates that actually cool the Earth's atmosphere. Now, black carbon is a component of very fine particulate matter. It's one of the largest contributors to global warming after CO2. And black carbon warms the atmosphere by absorbing the sunlight, thereby accelerating the melting of snow and ice. Particulates containing little or no carbon are effectively white. They reflect solar radiation and making the air and the Earth's surface below them a bit cooler than they would be otherwise. So sulfate particulates in the stratosphere, for example, from a volcanic eruption, it would create this cooling effect all over the world, where particulates of black carbon would heat that the temperature on the ground. Excuse me. Because there is so much particulate are a very complicated relationship with climate, and EPA is still in the process of studying that. And so that's all I'm going to say on particulate at this point. I do want to go into CO, which is carbon monoxide, and give you a little bit of background on that. I mean, carbon monoxide is an colorless, odorless gas, and it's a result of incomplete combustion from natural gas, gasoline, wood, those sorts of things. Excuse me. CO contributes directly, indirectly, to climate change because it participates in the chemical reaction in the atmosphere that produces ozone, which is a climate change gas. Carbon monoxide also has, a weak direct effect on the climate. So for this reason, CO is classified as a short-lived climate forcing agent, prompting CO emission reductions to be considered as a possible strategy for for climate change and global warming. So now I'm going to go into CO2, carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide and some other greenhouse gases, they act like a blanket or a cap on the Earth's surface, trapping the heat, as we saw in the video earlier. Without carbon dioxide, on one hand, the Earth's natural greenhouse effect would be too weak to keep our global temperatures above freezing. So we want some CO2. But on the other hand, by adding more CO2 to the atmosphere, we're kind of supercharging this greenhouse effect, causing warming up of the Earth's surface. And because we've added so many of these sources to the environment, such as transportation and industry and so forth, now we have an increase in that CO2, making it much more warmer. So, we've asked, what is the worst of these different criteria pollutants in terms of greenhouse gases? And a lot of people would say that CO2 is in fact the worst. And the reason for that is because it remains in the atmosphere much longer than any of the other ones. And it's a major heat trapping gas that has impact on the human life. And, you know, I found it really interesting that it takes almost a decade for methane, which is a product of CO2, to leave the atmosphere, and almost a century for nitrogen oxides to leave the atmosphere. So when considering climate change and air quality, I think they're intricately connected. It's a complex interplay, overlapping causes, and there is a potential for us to mitigate both air quality and climate change by addressing the NACs that I've mentioned to you today. So, next slide. I think I'm turning it back to Kayla at this point.
Yes, thanks, Kelly. So I'm going to switch gears a bit and start talking a little bit more about the impacts that climate is having on our indoor air. So climate change has impacts on outdoor air. You just heard Kelly give a ton of great examples of those impacts, but it's also impacting our indoor airspace. So increases in outside air pollutants, such as ozone and particulate matter, could lead to higher indoor air exposures. These pollutants can enter buildings in many different ways, including opening your door, opening your windows, and through your ventilation systems. Mold, dust, mites, bacteria, and other indoor pollutants may increase as climate change related precipitation and storms increase. For example, flood damage can create damp indoor environments, leading to mold growth. Indoor air pollutants have been linked to heart disease, respiratory disease, things like asthma and cancer. So how can we become a little bit more ready for climate change in relation to our indoor air? So good indoor air quality starts with the construction and repair of the buildings that we live in. So making sure that we have good ventilation and are reducing exposure to those pollutants. And also improving energy efficiency. Some steps that you can take to improve your indoor air at home, controlling that moisture and limiting mold growth, making sure that you have proper ventilation in your home, and then also consider making some weatherization upgrades as well. So there's lots of EPA tools out there that are super helpful when it comes to things like air quality and adaptation for climate. So I'm going to list a few of them. These are not all of the tools that we have out there, but just a few that might be helpful. The first one being the Energy Star program. So I'm hoping that most of us have maybe seen that Energy Star label before. Maybe you're looking at one right now. Maybe your extra monitor or your computer is Energy Star certified. But the Energy Star program as a whole is administered by the EPA, and it also partners with thousands of organizations. And together, they work together to deliver cost-saving, energy-efficient solutions that protect the climate, improve air quality, and protect public health. How our Energy Star program has helped air quality. Since 1992, Energy Star and its partners have helped prevent 4 billion metric tons of greenhouse gas emissions from entering the atmosphere. Energy Star has also led to a savings and reduction of 210,000 short tons of sulfur dioxide, nitrogen oxides, and 20,000 short tons of fine particulate matter. And in 2020 alone, the program emission reductions were equivalent to more than 5% of US total greenhouse gas emissions. So some tools within the Energy Star program itself that might be of interest and might be helpful, especially when considering your indoor air quality and improving energy efficiency and weatherizing your home. The first one is the Energy Star Home Energy Yardstick. What this tool is, it is a tool that provides a simple assessment of your home annual energy use compared to similar homes. All you have to do is plug in some information on your home, like the square footage. You have to plug in a year worth of utility data and some other things, and it will provide you an Energy Star score, so a 1 to 100 score, 50 being that middle mark of energy efficiency. It provides you insights into how much your home energy use is related to heating and cooling versus every other day uses, and an estimate of your home annual carbon emissions. So it's always a great idea to figure out where you are when it comes to energy efficiency. And if you are a little bit more familiar, maybe you work with buildings or industrial plants, if you're a little bit more familiar with our portfolio manager tool, this has now been integrated into Portfolio Manager. So if you're familiar with that tool, it's the same thing, very simple. And if you're not, it's something super easy to use. And I definitely recommend checking it out if you're interested in figuring out how much energy you're using in your home. The next one is our Energy Star Home Upgrade. So this is a relatively newer tool that we have at Energy Star. And what it is, it's a set of 6 high impact energy efficiency improvements that you can make to your home that are designed to work together to deliver significant energy and cost savings. And these upgrades will help you transition your home away from fossil fuels for a cleaner, healthier, and more comfortable, and I like to think happier home. So the 6 measures are clean heat, super efficient hot water, smart climate controls, so that's a smart thermostat, high performing windows or storm windows, a well insulated attic, and electric vehicle charging capacity for your home. So this is the tool. It's a screenshot of what the tool looks like. It's really meant to be kind of a one-stop shop for all of the widely used Energy Star tools that we have out there. So you can navigate the tool based off need. So if you have no interest in anything but a smart thermostat, you can go and look at all of the information you'd ever need about a smart thermostat and learn things like what you need to know, like you need to make sure your HVAC system is compatible with the smart thermostat if you're considering buying one. It also provides information about rebates. You can go to our rebate tool from this. It's kind of a jumping off point for other tools. Some other tools, I just mentioned our Energy Star rebate finder, but our Energy Star product finder, what this is, if you're looking to maybe buy an Energy Star certified appliance, maybe you're looking for a computer monitor, what you can do is you can go into the Energy Star product finder and it will give you a list of different products that have earned that Energy Star certification. So if you buy an Energy Star certified product, you know you're buying a more efficient one. And then we have the Energy Star rebate finder, and both these tools you can get to through the home upgrade, like I just said. But the Energy Star rebate finder is definitely one of the more popular tools. What it is you can put in your zip code and it will then populate and provide a bunch of information about different rebates, special offers, and tax credits that are available to you in your area. So there's a lot of federal tax credits out there right now for energy efficiency upgrades to your home. So if you're interested in maybe making some upgrades, improving your energy efficiency at home, definitely check out the rebate finder, plug in your zip code, and it will give you a bunch of different information. And we're going to provide these links to everyone at the end. So don't worry about having to Google it. We will give you the links at the end. All right, and then the last tool that I'm going to talk about today is our flooded homes cleanup guidance. So floods are one of the most common types of natural disasters affecting people across the US. And after a flood, getting families back into homes is a very critical step in the recovery process. But flooded homes can pose a lot of different health risks. So what the EPA flooded homes cleanup guidance is, it provides how-to videos, graphics, and other information to meet your homeowners, renters, and volunteers' needs. So if you've ever been affected by a flood, or you have a loved one or a friend or anyone you know who's been affected, you can send them this information or you can check it out yourself. There's a lot of great materials on this tool and in this guidance website portion of the EPA website. All right, and so I know we just threw a ton of information at you, but we really wanted to end this presentation talking a little bit about, well, what can we do to reduce climate and air quality impacts? And there's a lot of different ways that we can reduce climate impacts and air quality impacts. The first one is to go green. Switch to green power, to renewable energy sources like solar, wind, and hydropower to reduce both air pollution and greenhouse gas emissions. You can reduce your air pollution from vehicles. So maybe choosing to walk or bike or take public transit some days to wherever your destination may be is a great idea to reduce air pollution from vehicles. It also has other benefits. Like if you're walking all over the place, definitely has some great benefits on your health. Improving air quality at ports. Communities situated near ports, which often include low income and minority populations, are at a higher risk of air pollution exposure. Communities and stakeholders can work with EPA Port Initiative to improve environmental performance and advance clean technologies at ports. The next one is to develop urban forests. Planting trees, especially in urban areas alongside roads and highways, can help improve air quality. And then trees also provide a lot of other benefits, such as reducing the impact of urban heat islands. I know that there's a lot of trees around me, and I definitely enjoy looking at them. So that's another benefit. And the next one would be preventing wildfires. So paying attention to the weather and drought conditions around you, avoiding activities involving fire and sparks when it's hot and dry and windy to help prevent setting wildfires. And just pay attention if you're camping or you're in an area where you're using campfire, just pay attention to what's going on and what the rules are and abide by those rules. If they say no fire, definitely don't have a campfire. And then reduce your exposure. So using our air quality index, the AIQ, to guide outdoor activities. When you see that the AIQ is unhealthy, take simple steps to reduce your exposure, like choosing a less intense activity, maybe taking more breaks, or rescheduling that activity, that outside activity, to a time when the outdoor air quality is a lot better. And then last, but definitely not least, is improving your air quality, indoor air quality. I just talked a lot about improving indoor air quality and different tools that you can use to increase your energy efficiency and improve energy efficiency. But reduce or remove those sources of indoor air pollutants whenever you can, and then take those steps that we had talked about a little bit earlier as well. So Kelly, I'm going to go ahead and turn it back over to you.
Okay, thank you. Well, hopefully I can get through this. My allergies are really having a havoc effect on my ability to speak without coughing. But this is sort of just to sum it up. It's a really wonderful quote from the World Bank. But like we said earlier, climate change integral relationship with air quality means that these two environmental forces have a complex interplay and they both impact each other. You know, we often think that air pollution as the driver for climate change, but research is increasingly showing that a changing climate can also drive air pollution. So it's a feedback loop. I'll give you an example. There were some studies done at some of the large bodies of water in the United States, such as the Great Salt Lake in Utah and the Owens River in Los Angeles. And both of these are significantly drying out because of the increasing temperatures. And the other, so when the beds, lake beds and the river beds dry out, they're becoming a significant source of dust pollution with extremely high levels of particulate matter, PM10. In fact, measurements were made that when Owens Lake dried out, it was 138 times more, contained 138 times more PM10 than EPA would have otherwise deemed safe. And with the Great Salt Lake, it's drying out and it's releasing high levels of arsenic into the air, exposing residents to these toxins. So the drying lake means increased salt levels, threatening the eco system balance and the health of algae and the shrimp, as well as the residents. So very scary stuff. We could go, oh, no, go back. Okay. Um, although air pollution and climate change may seem like two very different issues, climate change and air pollution are very closely interlinked. So by reducing air pollution, we can also protect climate, as we've said several times throughout this. Air pollutants, including more than just greenhouse gases, carbon dioxide, methane, nitrogen oxides, and others. There's a huge overlap between the two. So the good news is that there's some immediate changes to air pollution levels that can have an immediate effect. We talked about some of the ways we can reduce those emissions, but quick actions to reduce, short-lived climate pollutants, as we call them, methane, ozone, hydrocarbons, higher fluorocarbons, black carbon, they can significantly decrease the chances of triggering a dangerous climate tipping point. And I think what the bottom line here is, when we're addressing an EPA air pollution, we also have to address uh, uh, climate change as an interrelated solution. Okay, and yep, that's the last slide. So, in keeping with the May the 4th be with you, Kayla, would you like to use the force and take into consideration that climate change and air quality go hand in hand, and recognize those co-benefits?
Yeah, thanks, Kelly. This is a great summary. May the 4th be with you. I know we said it at the beginning, but it is May 4th. So I'm going to go ahead and go to our next slide. So this is some of the links that we've talked about today. Again, we felt it appropriate to have it slide like this, and you'll be getting a PDF version from Heidi after these presentations, and all of those links will be in there if you want to check them out. And with that, that is all we have for you guys today. And we will go ahead and turn it back to Heidi, and we'll take any questions.
Awesome presentation. Any questions? Please feel free to raise your hand or put any questions in the chat. Oh, we have one from Chandler. Are there any tax credits I can look for in my zip code?
Yeah, definitely. There's a ton of federal tax credits out there right now. So if there's a lot of different links that you can access these home upgrade tax credits with. If you use the rebate finder, it will show you what's available in your area. So that's a great way to find it. And then also, if you go on the Energy Star website, it will show you the actual federal tax credits that are available as well.
And just for the folks on the call, we are doing on Monday a presentation that ARD PAT team is putting on, where they're going to go into a little more detail about those tax credits, and both from energy efficiencies within your residential homes, as well as vehicles.
Yeah, there's a ton of stuff out there right now, so it's definitely worth taking a look.
Mm-hmm. And that will be at 12 o'clock on Monday.
Any other questions? Please raise your hand if you would like to come on the mic. I'll unmute your mic.
While we're waiting for the next question, Chandler, I looked up in my personal home because I had replaced quite a few windows. Couldn't afford to do them all, but I did do about half of them. And you can get up to, I think it's a $500 rebate for replacing your windows. So even if you do, 2 windows, that's going to cost you maybe $1,000, you could get almost a 50% tax rebate. So $500, say it was 1,000. It's a pretty good deal.
Awesome. Chandler says she needs some new windows. Catherine says, can you please put the info for the tax credit sessions on Monday? She needs that information.
Okay, while
You
we're
should
talking,
bet.
I'll go find it.
Thank you. And speaking of taxes, I was so excited to get my tax refund, and my refrigerator died. So I had to get a new refrigerator, and I did get an Energy Star refrigerator, and I got a good one, a really good one. My daughter, her main request is when I come to the house, can I have some with the crushed ice? So I made sure I got the kind with give you crushed ice. So but I'm happy I picked the Energy Star refrigerator.
Yeah, and I just dropped that Energy Star link to the federal tax credits that are available right now. I believe that they're available until 2032. So even if you don't want to make any upgrades right now, they will be there for a while. So it's definitely worth taking a look at, seeing what's out there.
Thank you. All right, any other questions? Last call. All right, well, we will close out. Caroline, would you like to close out? May not be in, oh, she might be on, so we'll get Kayla or Kelly. Would you like to close out for us again? We'd like to thank everybody for joining the call. You'll be getting a PDF slide shortly, and you'll be getting the video maybe in a week or so or less. So I will thank everybody, and I'll let you guys say your last words. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks everyone. Thanks for taking the time to sit through our presentations. And
Yes,
everyone
thank you.
have a great May 4th. May the 4th be with you. Maybe watch a few Star Wars movies today if you have time.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.